Hello everyone, I'm Brian Croy Dragon and we'll get started in just a moment. As he says, the painting depicts all five gods of change but no gods of stability. And it is garish. Every color is used, each hue often next to a contrasting one, and every inch of space is covered with detail. Faces of demons or ritual objects filling the background. Staring too long actually induces vertigo. Oh look, just me. I think we're still within the bounds of the city. We've traveled far, but we keep turning left more than right, so it must be a spiral. I have no idea how far down. He pauses to look at the wall. 15,000 years into the past. How can physical distance matter next to that? With a resigned sigh, he turns to look after the dot of Sayi's torch, meandering slowly ahead. We are below the earth now, and none of the laws of gods or men apply down here. Do you wonder who you'll be, unfettered like that? What you'll do? It's clearly a rhetorical question, because he continues without pause. You're not who I thought you'd be from the stories I'd heard. Abruptly, he follows after Sayi. More walking and you get lost in your thoughts before bumping into Sayi, who has stopped to stand still. She waves to hush you. A man-sized beetle trundles through a cross passage, black mandibles clicking rhythmically, and torchlight makes its carapace glow an emerald green. But the emerald shies away from the brightness. We see wedged in the ring bones high on his back, a copper-sheathed pommel. The priests of Sarku must have ventured down this far after all, unless the creature wandered up into their tombs. Yes, Alex, hello. Oh look, still just me. A wise decision. There will be plenty of trouble waiting ahead. Sayi stretches hands over her head, spine cracking. Those Delaco live in tombs feasting upon dead flesh. Which means there might still be undead nearby. You should put some more distance between us and that door. The one looks impressed at this unexpectedly scholarly side to your cousin. You've turned into quite the tour guide, he says with a friendly irony. I get around, Sayi replies, annoyed. Soldiers from Prince Veruscala's legions have been clearing catacombs in every city they take practically since the war began. Everyone knows the priests of Sorku are loyal to the Emperor. She grabs a torch and sets off. After moving further into the cracked and distorted passages of an ancient city, Sayi stops in what might be a plaza. She crouches down and dribbles a handful of gravel through her fingers. We need to talk. The papers I glimpsed, they didn't need out so much as down. There was something down here the generals wanted, badly. An artifact that could change the war. Emperor Eternal Splendor was searching for it. But we know where it is. Her eyes stay focused on the sifting gravel. That's where I can get us to. It's our best hope for fulfilling our mission and getting out. That's where I'm going. She stands up and dusts off her hands before turning to look around the plaza. You, Rihanna, and the Run start speaking over each other at once. The words echoing in the darkness, but Sayi has already stalked off. The Run looks at you. It would make sense. We certainly didn't try to capture this place for its strategic value. Okay, and it's still just me. Following her footsteps through the cracked and distorted passages of an ancient city, with time measured only by the burn of torches, you realize that your group has begun to resemble a small band more than a military hierarchy. The dark, unfamiliar surroundings have stripped all pretense from you. It's still just me, so... You inquire about the route, but she responds with open annoyance. I had to memorize 4 different scrolls of note, none of which are particularly accurate, and half of the landmarks are out of order. So unless you want to die starving down here, please leave me alone to think. Saeed manages to look slightly chagrined. Fine, I may have stayed to read a bit. Is it a crime to want to know why we're throwing ourselves against the wall of some tiny rural village for 3 months? Well, it probably is actually, but you can court-martial me when we get out of the underworld, unless you want to do it here and find your own way out. She moves off to examine an inscribed pillar, pretending to be unaware of any further questions. A torch dropped down the hall. A torch dropped down the hole is visible as a small circle of light, maybe 2 stories below. It squats in the middle of a hall full of cracked and fallen pillars, and the Run had almost stumbled into it after hours of walking. This is definitely what we're looking for, says Sayi. There's a clear record of this hole being dug. The nobleman whose entertaining room this used to be, she said, gesturing around the spacious hall, filed a complaint with Queen Nayari's government in Jakala. Besides you, Narun sounds impressed. The generals really dug into the past to find this thing, didn't they? Ancient maps? Benaugian court records? How did they find all this? I read that it was the undead that first told the Emperor to start looking here. Someone's illustrious ancestor, lovingly preserved for countless generations, was citing a story he heard from his own ancestor as a boy. Sayi ties a rope off on a nearby stalagmite, possibly runs to the base of a column, frowns at it, and points back, testing her rate. The Emperor had teams searching the records rooms in the Emperor had teams searching the records rooms in Avantlar and Beisu for months to find something more than the town name. But when one bureaucrat finally did find a trail, she took the records and defected to Prince Marishkala. Yes, don't just me, so. Brave, a bureaucrat? Sayi's voice is full of scorn. More likely she was so blinded by avarice that she couldn't think straight, and then having grabbed the documents was too afraid to go back. Isn't there room for altruism in your worldview? Asked Narun. Maybe she was a patriot risking all for her clan. In her experience, Sayi says, tugging again on the rope with a frown, people talk about duty, but they act for themselves. Satisfied it's anchored, she stops pulling on the rope. I think this is as secure as it's going to get. Rappelling is a standard part of military training. You remember practicing off the side of a Sakbi road as a raw recruit. However, no one feels like trusting this rope or its anchor with more than one person at a time. Narun volunteers to go first and, before anyone can object, has leaned back out over the pit. Rope wrapped around an arm guard and agilely leaped back into darkness, a fleeting look of boyish pleasure on his face. You've seen the torch lifted, and his face looking up from the bottom. It's safe to come down! He pauses, looking off to the side, and then the torch moves out of your view at the bottom of the hole. Great. Sighing, you order Sayi and Rayana to wait here until you've gone down to belay them. You land with a splash in a shallow puddle that shimmers in the torchlight. You're in some kind of stone hall with carvings on the walls. But nearby there is a large fissure beyond which the floor continues downward at a steep angle. Narun is leaning against the wall, foot twisted. I slipped in the water, he says, voice tight with strain. Help me, it really hurts. You walk forward and bend down, arm outstretched. Narun's nails bite like claws as they grasp your phone arm to pull your face down to his, and his eyes are deep pools of black. They expand to fill all of your world. She's trying to kill me. I hear her thoughts. She wants the artifact for herself. You must calm her down and kill her when she's vulnerable. Sayi has done this, knowing what she ought not to know, squirming out of every difficulty with insidious lies. You know now that your only safety lies in her death. A tiny voice inside you objects, but is drowned out by the sound of Narun's weeping. You have to make it stop. The crying. It hurts so much. Grab the rope, holding it steady and waving the torch side to side. Come down! Sayi slides gracefully down the rope at speed. Sayi slides gracefully down the rope at speed. Her back to you, but as you swing the fatal blow, she catches the movement from the corner of her eye and manages to twist by dumb luck, entangling your sword in the rope. Narun shrieks in rage, but when you turn to look at him, he's gone, replaced by you. Rave! He cries. It's a monster! It killed Narun! Please, help me! He whimpers like a child, the grating sound echoing up and down the corridor. As its attention leaves you, the volume of sound shrinks enough for you to hold a brief, coherent thought in your head. Yeah, still just me, so only one person to make a decision, and that's me. I have no one to ask for an opinion of which to choose. Before you can act, you can hear Narun's voice from behind you. Just run, get away from its voice! He begins to chant hauntingly in Benaujan, Salarviani, as you back away, buffeted by waves of psychic realm ebbing and flowing with the Emperor's cries. You, the other you, leap towards Sayi, and then you are Sayi, both of them falling in a tangle. You need to stop Narun's chanting. You need to kill Wave. You place your hands over your ears and rock back and forth in agony. An old woman stands before Narun calling for your blood, for vengeance. Below, visibly pale, he continues to chant, holding out an amulet. When he stops, so too does the constant noise, and there is an amazing silence so complete it stuns you. You look up as Narun shakes your shoulder. Come on, we need to move. I don't know how long the amulet will work, and then it will return. You see Sayi push herself up, dry heaving, and hearing the splash of the Herexa landing. You're only half aware as you all scurry down. You're only half aware as you all scurry off down the tunnel and begin running. What was that? Whispered Sayi, and you're about to uncertainly reply when Narun says, A Marish Yalu, a Emperor. I read they were made in the latter times to guard things of great value, and that some sorcerers of Lord Kasawun can bind them. When I came down the hall, I thought I heard my sister crying, and he moves off down the hall, running a trembling hand along the stone walls, over carvings of strange men sitting astride odd animals. Sayi dusts herself off and looks around. Luckily, we ran the right direction. This hole is supposed to intersect a shaft that swallows the sea, whatever that means. We're close now. She follows Narun down the hall and soon overtakes him. The stolid Herexa, Rayana, follows behind, but Narun maintains his slow, dreamlike pace. Well, look, still no one to ask for an opinion of which to choose. The group is in a somber, quiet mood as you march down the endless hall. The torches flicker and your shadows play over the reliefs on the wall, but everyone is too lost in their own thoughts to speak. You remember the rage you felt towards Sayi under the mental control of the Marish Yalu and peek at your clan cousin. She walks with confidence you would not have suspected in this place. Why did the monster single her out? Slowly, a faint, faraway rumble begins to intrude upon your thoughts, growing as you move farther along. The shaft is perfectly square in cross-section, and made of a smooth silver metal, more metal than you have ever seen. A man-sized crack above your head mars the perfect smoothness, and from it gushes a river of water pouring down into endless darkness with a thundering roar. Sayi cups her hands under the deluge and drinks thirstily before splashing some on her face and whooping. Narun stands in the mist, smiling, arms head out to catch the refreshing spray as he looks about. Don't celebrate too early, we need to find a way. Are we going up or down? Across seems not to be an option. Down, replies Sayi, and begins to look, walking along the edge. Rihanna, after drinking deeply, pulls you aside, whispering under cover of the echoing waterfall. What are we going to do when we find this magic treasure? How will we get it back up? How will we get it past that monster back there? Or the guards in the temple? I don't want to undermine morale, but it seems the signaller has not thought this through. A soldier should always have plans before engaging the enemy. She quotes, and you recognize one of Dritlan the Romans endless aphorisms. Yeah. You don't have to tell me that. That runs as devious as the day is long. You wonder what happened between the two of them to create such animosity. There are aspects of barracks life that are opaque to an officer, the card games, pranks, and black market trades. Knowing Sayi, you suspect she was hip deep in all of them. Soon, Sayi is shouting again, triumph in her voice. Here, there's a ladder. She is lying on the stone floor of the hall, waving her torch over the edge. It's a bit of a reach, but not too far. The ladder is made of the same metal as everything else and fused to the side of the shaft. With a shrug, Narun begins climbing down, back to the waterfall. Far below, you see a faint luminescence. After descending the height of Asakbi Road, you come to the source of the light. Another hallway leading back the direction you came and made of the omnipresent grey metal. The corridor is bathed in harsh light, as bright as the daytime sun, but with no obvious source of illumination. At Sayi's gesture, Narun swings himself into it, and the rest of you follow. Behind you, the waterfall continues its rush into the dark, and before you, the unrelieved, featureless grey walls curve. There are no branchings through the way forward. Often bends. The walls are featureless, but hung with large paintings at regular intervals. The art is strange, looking so realistic that it almost resembles windows into another place. In one, a woman in strange dress lies sleeping upon a beach. In another, the smiling bust of a giant man holds up a cylinder with writing on it. After the decayed glory and rubbing of the previous levels, this sparse alien sameness is disorienting. Beside you, the Herexa is muttering prayers under his breath. This is a strange place, sir, so bare and yet all of metal. I think we have stumbled into some demon's private domain. The one is entranced by the foreign architecture and calls to Sayi. What is this place, signaller? It's where our general's treasure lies. That's all that matters, replies Sayi curtly, though you suspect she knows more than that. Still just me, so... You have not walked long before the passage continues into a large bare room. Your eye is drawn to what looks like an armoured demon of Karakan squatting in the middle of it. It hulks, unmoving over a stairway with short pillars to either side. It has one blazing scarlet eye, and 3 stumpy silver limbs protrude from each shoulder of its squat frame. These are held stiffly outward to block the passage between the pillars and spin in an odd ritual gesture. Angry lightning arcing out from them. It shouts commandingly at you in a language you do not understand, repeating the same phrase over and over, even though it has no mouth from which to speak. No amount of chantings or prayers cause it to cease its droning repetition. Perhaps it is issuing a challenge or saying some prayers to the Lord of Glorious War in a forgotten tongue. You side on from the side of the servitor of Karakan, then rush in, trying to slide under its flailing arms and down the stairs, but an arc of lightning throws you back. You come to flat on your back a few lengths away from the demon, Muson's own cramping, jaw clenched. With bleary eyes, you see that the lightning has ceased, and the demon appears to slumber, the fire in its eyes dimmed. Sayi kneels down to help you up. I can't believe... She shakes her head in wonder. I can't decide if you're brave or stupid. But I've heard demons of Lord Karakan are impressed by courageous acts. Tentatively, your group moves past the demon, or whatever it is, jumping over its arms, and down the stairs. Devoid of movement and lightning, it looks much less impressive. Its armor is the same metal that makes up the room, and its rectangular body is fused to the floor. You begin to doubt your initial assessment. Sayi is trembling with excitement, while Rihanna appears filled with superstitious dread. There are flights of strange petal stairs, punctuated by landings and short halls. Sometimes the halls need 2 different stair rounds, and you suspect Sayi might be guessing where to go at this point. The walls are mostly unadorned, except for more murals depicting people or landscapes. There is little artistry or proper scale to these odd images. Through a door at the bottom of one flight is yet another hallway, with coloured glass in the floor, beside deep circular pits, and next to one of them a tall man-shaped demon shining like bronze, a Wuran. The Wuran is sweeping a spotless floor, oblivious to your presence. The others peer around the doorframe, and then back up the stairs to whisper. The one's voice is trembling with a mixture of nervousness and excitement. Wuran, maybe you can tell us where the item we seek is? So Yi dismisses this immediately. Everything else down here has tried to kill us. Let's not court trouble this close to our goal. It's probably like the Marishialu and keeps to its territory. Maybe you're more afraid of what it might tell us. I think you like being the shepherd and us the flock. Rihanna's voice is full of scorn, and the conversation reminds you of the endless bickering and the sounds below the temple of Sarku. The Herexa's right, says Narun. I think you're more afraid of losing your monopoly on knowledge than you are of the demon. Oh look, still just me. Just me keeping an eye on chat. Sayi is too busy sputtering at Narun's accusation to mount an objection as you step through the doorway. The bronze demon turns at your approach, and though its mask-like metal face doesn't change, it manages to convey annoyance by shooing at you with his broom and pointing back out the door while babbling in a foreign tongue. It doesn't speak Soyani and doesn't want us here. Can we move along? Sayi calls from her spot near the door. That writing on its back is an ancient Bednaugen, the one says thoughtfully. I think it's a spell inscription. I could try to read it if you get the Ruan to stand still. Do you know what spell it will cast? Asks Sayi in a skeptical tone. No, I didn't think so. Still just me, so I can't ask for anyone's opinion. With a sign, the one turns from the demon. He casts a longing glance back over his shoulder as you all leave the room. A handful of turns and stairways brings you to a near identical room, with the same pits and coloured panels, and in the middle, the object of your quest. The artifact is underwhelming in appearance. A waist-high black stone block with dull silver filigree and other odd ornamentation. In fact, you might have overlooked it, were the rooms not so bare, or if Sayi had not gasped and gone to run hungry eyes over it at once. No one walks around it with a critical eye, so this is what it's all been about. He looks up at you and stiffens. I can't let you go back with this, Achan. The glory that will come from it is too great. I was never supposed to let you survive the battle. I'm sorry it came to this. My clan has its grievances, and I've been ordered to carry them out. I hope we can face our destinies as honourable soldiers, and round, for my part, if I win, I'll make sure everyone knows you died in service to our prince. In the silence that follows his awkward, obviously rehearsed speech, a look of desperate frustration comes over his feature. Family loyalty is one thing, but I'm not some assassin or thug to be sent for a quiet killing in the dark. It's still just me, so let's see here. Why am I saying this in your face? Why did I save you when I could have let them Marishalu do my murder for me? And clenches his jaw and stares you in the eyes. Do you have such a low opinion of my honor? I'm telling you because a soldier can't choose whether to serve or whom to serve. But we find our honor in how we serve. I'm sorry, but it has to end this way. You cut short your skein of destiny the day you cross the blue girdle. He slashes at the air, battling his thoughts. I don't agree with my uncle, and I know my cousin Ayen is happier in that monastery. But since Renda's happiness matter next to duty, did you think you could save her? Well, she escaped hers, but now a heavier one has fallen on me. As his fist tightens around his weapon, his voice fills with helplessness and a directionless anger. So pick up your sword and face me. Oh, still just me, so yeah. This isn't about duty, this is about a bitter, thwarted old man throwing a fit. Save your breath, Tioni. Your cousin cuts across your protestations of innocence. Sayi is standing, an eye pointed at Narun. She stalks to the side of one of the pits and stamping down on a blue glass panel, eye still trained on Narun. I can't let you kill my cousin. After that rambling speech on familial duty, I'm sure you understand. She flicks her eyes to you momentarily. What do you want me to do? It's still just me, so I can do what I usually do. Are you sure? Like, Sayi's voice is full of skepticism. I don't want to have to watch your back with every step we take. She turns to Narun. Maybe you could give your parole. I think your word means too much to you to too much for you to break it. You have to see how futile carrying out your clan's orders now is. In a step back, she moves to put both of you in the eyes line of fire. Besides, we're not going back to Sangmire, and no one's getting covered in any glory, so there's nothing for you two to be fighting over. She smirks, found I might get some glory when Spy Master Vivadeka and the Emperor sees the new toy I've brought them. We're going to Avanthar. Oh, look, don't just me. Guess I'll go with like hell we are. Oh, don't be so rash. She begins to pace. I kept training back to the corner. Emperor Eternal Splendor is the rightful heir to the Imperium. And more importantly, the only one of his siblings strong enough to end this war quickly. Do you think it really matters whose ass graces the Petal throne? Are we supposed to keep fighting ourselves while the Mu'Galavyani and Salavia and Yankor all eat away at our borders? Emperors come and go and bring their favored gods with them, but the empire remains. The whole point of the damned Kulam Jalim is to avoid this kind of dynastic struggle. You've never heard Sayi sound so impassioned, or really ever speak about politics, and it takes you a bit aback. The one is less impressed. The usurper should have thought of that when he declared himself emperor without a fair Kulam. Don't pretend he didn't start this war. He spits. And where's your loyalty to your clan and their heir, their interests and their god? It seems to me you're just an opportunist trying to finagle yourself onto the winning side. Don't pretend you know me. Your cousin's voice is full of pride. I worked long and hard to get where I am. From informant to useful spy, and finally an actual rank in Radeka's new omnipotent Azure Legion. You speak of loyalty to the Legion of the Ruby Hand. Well, I have my loyalty to those who fight for the Empire with cleverness and deceit instead of swords. She takes a steadying breath, always fixing on your face, but I remember my own loyalties too, she says, the pride ringing in her voice momentarily, replaced by pleading, and that's why I want you to come with me. Willingly, we can make good for ourselves in this, and even extend protection to Sea Blue, if that's important to you. We'll be important people, valued and respected. I can't give you the artifact, but I can give you that. As she finishes speaking, there is a roaring sound accompanied by a wind, and a large sphere emerges from the pit to hover beside Sayi. It's bigger than a prince's palanquin, but floats in the air like a feather. The door on its side and the glass below Sayi's foot turns to yellow. My palanquin awaits. Time to decide. Oh look, still just me, so what I usually go with. Lowering your sword to your side, you advance on Sayori. You're right, you win. Her eyes narrow. Do you think I can't read you after all these years? Stay where you are. You know that the minute you move toward her that she'll fire, and so the two of you circle, eyes locked as you draw your sword. Oh, Tayuni, she chides. Why must you be so stubborn? The game is played out. Over her shoulder you see Rihanna peeling away from the wall where she'd stood, forgotten and advancing on Sayi. Quickly, you flick your eyes back to Sayi's face and speak to draw her attention. While I'm waiting to see them, she looks theatrically from side to side. The Herexa slams into her from the back. So Yi sprawled on the floor, pinned as the eye roams across the unnaturally smooth metal under the floating sphere and tumbles down the pit. Before she can recover, you pounce upon your traitorous clan cousin. The struggle is brief and decisive. Sayi fights with desperation, but it is not up to your caliber in the end. She lies before you, bleeding, and begins to softly laugh, though it quickly transforms into a wet cough. I suppose this is a better ending than being taken back and publicly impaled, she says between fits. Let no one say I'm a sore loser when I gambled big. Take this. She reaches into her kirtle and pulls out a small flat disc. There's a mouth in the sphere. Put that in and push the button below the third window from the left. It'll take you to Saru, and the station there is near the surface. Would have been so easy to just come here from there, but you need the light. The light goes out of her eyes. You turn from Sayi's body to look at the run. Are you still determined to duel to the death? You ask. You know I never wanted to. It's my duty to my family, but if you're willing to fight your cousin, how can I do less? He looks down. At least that's enough of a reason to tell myself and to tell my clan. You both stand and stare for a while at the black cube that has caused all this chaos. Rihanna moves forward, still tense, looking between you two, ready for a fight to break out. We should go. Who knows what else is down here? She ponders the small desk. I'm not sure I trust her, but it's better than trying to lug this past the Marishalu. You move the block into the floating palanquin and feed it the strange disc, causing the windows inside to look out on different scenes. Mostly halls like this one. One is underwater, and the seventh priests in the robes of Sarku, and guards in the elaborate armor of the omnipotent Azure Legion patrol. The third could be a window onto this very place. You take a deep breath, look at the run, and Rihanna beside you, and push a button beneath the third window. And we've reached the epilogue, so just gonna take a short break. Break over. Epilogue. Honored. Chakala, fall of 2365 AS. Prince Virishkala grants you audience in a small private room within his villa. The entourage that customarily surrounds him replaced by a few older men in the robes of Lord Hanala. He watches no reaction to your tale as much as he watches you, and his eyes occasionally shift speculatively to the black stone artifact. When your story winds down and you get to the ride in the floating egg and the rendezvous with the army, the prince speaks. I am pleased to see you here before me. He stands and begins to pace. From what we can tell, the secrecy about your success remains. We had thought Sangmire lost and the artifact with it. And here you rise from the ground, weeks later, redeeming everything. You, he nods to one of the priests, will take this artifact and report back on its capabilities. You are forgotten for a time in this consultation. But when the prince's attention returns, it is to drown you in honors. A promotion to Monkar, increasing your rank while allowing you to continue to direct soldiers on the ground. Several attractive and useful several attractive and useful slaves, and an enchanted steel buckler, engraved with the symbol of sea blue. The audience is brief, and the prince's advisors have clearly cast you in the role of honored supplicant, overawed by the royal presence. Still, it is possible for a bold soldier to seize the moment and ask a personal boon. Oh look, still just me, so what do we go with? I am content with my rewards and feel no need to speak. In the weeks after your audience you are given leave. Mama Hale welcomes you back to the clown house? Mama Hale welcomes you back to the clan house with open arms and silver in her hair. She directs slaves to draw you a hot bath while you read the latest letter from your other mother, Dazai, still out in the field. Her letter is, as always, formal and terse, bordering on stilted, but Father Pyur's note, delivered in the same packet, mentions that she has hung your imperial commendation in her command tent, where all visitors cannot help but notice it. His congratulations are more direct. We're all so proud of you. You've become a fine soldier. Soon you are swept up once more in the life of the clan house. Your twin children greet you with a tentative enthusiasm. Hiding behind Guyane from the Northern life soldier who has dominated bedtime stories. Your brother winks at you and pulls them forward. Don't be so afraid, he says to the wide-eyed pair. He only eats enemy children. Flatteringly, the surprise from the clan elders at your rise to favor of the prince, but they grudgingly make room for you in their deliberations. Regardless of personal feelings, it's clear your skein of destiny is bright and woven from silken threads, and the clan is not blind to the opportunity of using your honors for their gain. Kasai Narun comes to speak with you soon after the audience. In his officer's uniform, he has regained his polish and urbane look. With slightly stiff politeness, he speaks of his own audience with the prince, and of returning soon to his aunt's legion. You know that you have made a staunch ally in your fellow Kasai, and when he stands to leave, he asks that you write to tell me of your future endeavors, and if you have need of anything. Those days down beneath the earth, I don't think I'll ever forget them. Rihanna looks intimidating in her new Kasai's armor, a gift from Prince Virishkala. She stands up straight and salutes you as you approach. Otulengba! Her promotion has treated her well, and made her something of a celebrity among the lower status of the soldiers. Now many of the other officers wince at her painfully frank, plebeian talk and her habit of directing subordinates by shoving them into position. A future of being socially snubbed and subtly mocked stands before her, now elevated above her station in a society, unkind to those who don't know their place, but she can't see it. She's so bursting with pride and duty. Hopes are high for your future, and that of your prince. But the war continues on making a muddle of destinies of those who fight in it. With pride, you prepare to take your new role as a leading officer in the 15th. On a nearby branch of the Tree of Time, another you is born in a subtly different world, shaped by a new life and a new destiny. And the story begins again. Well, that was Choice of the Petal Throne. What game will I stream next time? I don't know. Got 2 days to figure that out. I won't be streaming tomorrow, so Thursday. What should I stream on Thursday? I'll figure it out. I'm Brian Croydragon signing out. Stay Shrey!